Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Girl Be Selfish podcast. I am your podcast host, Chanel McCord. I'm the CEO and clinical director of Oasis Wellness Group. I am a conference host. I am a speaker. I am an author. I am a minister, and I am just an all-around lover of mental health. And so I am super excited to be back with you all for yet another episode of the Girl Be Selfish podcast. As I've been saying, as you all know, the Girl Be Selfish podcast was actually born out of the Girl Be Selfish Anthology project that I was so blessed to put together and go on a journey of self-care with 21 different authors. And what's awesome about it is there's 21 different authors from different disciplines, right? We have therapists, we have advocates, we have wellness coaches, and then we just have the everyday woman who has a story of how they have used self-care to overcome some area of their life. And so listen, like I've been saying every podcast, if you have not gotten this book yet, what the heck is up? I don't even understand at this point why you have not gotten your copy of Girl Be Selfish, learning to embrace your rhythm of self-care. Here's what I can tell y'all. Here's what I promise you. There are so many nuggets. And what's so wonderful about it, because we have people coming from different perspectives, you get to hear, like you can tell the difference between the chapters with the therapist and then the everyday woman, then the person who's the advocate, and then the person that's the coach. And I love the different perspectives because we all come from different worldviews. We all come from different perspectives. And so there's something for everybody in the book. Listen, when I am done with my guest for today, you are going to want to run her down to get your copy of the book. Okay. I love her topic, and we're going to get into all of that. But I just want to say this. I love her topic in particular because it's a different mode of healing. That's all I'll say. It's a different mode of healing. When we think about healing, we are usually one track minded with what healing looks like, but healing comes in many forms. And she is giving nuggets in the book about a different mode of healing. So that's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna allow her to introduce her chapter in a little bit. She's gonna give you a little bit of nuggets, but you're gonna want to run her down and get the book. And so I am super excited to introduce Aliya to you all today. Aliya is a fellow sister in the work. She is also a therapist, a fellow LPC. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today. Hello, Aliya. How are you?
Hello. I am well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be good conversation. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. You on the Girl Be Selfish podcast, so it's
I
gonna be
know.
good.
I know.
Good. Introduce yourself. Tell the people a
Sure.
little bit about you and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Aliya Adenuga. I am a licensed professional counselor. I have been a counselor since 2011, independently practicing since 2018. I am in private practice. My private practice is called the Epiphany Room. And I offer virtual and in-person sessions. And I am also a dancer, a dance instructor. I study Latin dance, Afro-Latin dances, West African dances. And so I have recently started another business. It's called Adenuga Afro-Latin Dance and Wellness, where I'm able to integrate both mental health themes as well as dance and body movement to help promote healing, and also to spread the word about the joy of culture and just dancing in general. So it's been really very much a labor of love for me to make this business. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it on so many levels. I love it because you're able to marry the two things that you love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To be able to take dance and being able to apply that as it pertains to mental health. Like, absolutely. I think that's just so amazing. I've always appreciated, like, I've taken classes on drumming. I've taken, I've learned about, dance and movement. And a lot of people don't know this, but there are such thing as dance and movement therapists. Like, absolutely. That's the thing. Just like there's art therapy, there is dance and movement therapy, right? And we'll talk about the benefits of that in a second. But I'm super excited. One, because I get to talk about this with another therapist. And I don't know. That just makes me, whatever.
It's extra special.
I know, right? It's just different. It's just different when somebody understands, like, we therapists think a little bit different. Like we process
Absolutely.
things a little bit different. So I love the creative arts around therapy. I used to host a while ago a women's group through my practice. I actually haven't done it in a few years, and I should bring it back because the women really enjoyed it. And it was a creative arts group.
Oh, nice.
And so it was always awesome to be able to get a bunch of adults in a room and engage them in creative arts as a form of healing. So we didn't necessarily do dance and movement, but we did that by way of like just different like activities. And, I have a couple activities up my sleeve. And, and I've had the opportunity to do some of these workshops for like women's retreats and conferences and stuff. And it's always so interesting. Like I'll bring something as simple as a box in a room and everybody was in tears. Like I'll never forget one day I spoke at a conference that my pastor was hosting, and all I had was just this box. It was a little gold box, and passed the box around, and I had the women to describe how this box is them. Like, and when I tell you there wasn't a dry eye in a room,
I bet.
Like,
I bet.
Like, and at first, and I can tell at first people was like, oh, here she go, like a box now or whatever. Baby, when it was done and there was no dry eyes in the room, they was like, don't ever bring no boxes.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. There is something special about the creative arts when it comes to therapy. So I'm super excited that you're doing that work. I want to say I'm super excited that you're doing that work. And so, but we ain't going to talk about, we're going to talk about some of that. But I like to start off every podcast episode by asking the person I'm interviewing, what is your definition of self-care?
So my definition of self-care for a long time has been, this is just something I need to make sure that I do. It was like, on my checklist, like something I needed to check off my checklist. Like I need to be able to make sure that I'm doing self-care so that I can continue to be a good clinician. Right. So it was just part of my training, and it's just something I have to do. But that thankfully evolved into a very sacred practice for me where, I've learned myself and how I see the world, how I navigate the world in relationships, and understanding how to tune into myself so that I know what I need at any given point to make sure that I'm good so that I can continue to be an extension of myself with the relationships I have, how I'm showing up in the world, how I'm showing up for work. So for me, self-care really is it's like a conversation with myself. Like, how are we doing today, Aliya? What do we need today, Aliya? For a while, it was hard for me to sort of embody that. And so for a while, I kept a picture of myself as a little kid on my screensaver of my phone. And it was like, oh, when I don't feel like I could show up for myself today, like I look at that little girl and it's like, but I have to show up for her. So, right. So every day it was just, for me, it's become a very special practice where I'm just taking the time to check in with myself, see what I need so that I can be my best self in all that I do throughout the day or throughout whatever I'm working on. So that's what that's what it means to me. Yeah.
I love that. I love this idea of when you say it's a conversation with myself, a daily conversation with myself, checking in with myself to see where I am. Right. If we're honest, where most people go wrong is that they don't spend enough time doing those check-ins with themselves. Right. When I think about stuff like burnout, when I look at and think about stuff like that, it's like how much could have been avoided if you were checking in with you. Because some people is just like, usually we don't know we're burnt out until we're already in it.
That's right.
But there were signs.
Yeah. There were signs. That's right.
There were signs, and we ignore the red flags of us. We can see the red flags in everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
We ignore the red flags of us. And so I challenge clients all the time. They was just like, I don't know how I got there.
Yeah.
Nope. We're going to take accountability.
Right.
You ignored the signs that were popping up for yourself that led you into this place. Burnout has a language.
Right.
Burnout has a look. And if you don't know the language of you, if you don't know the look, if you don't know how it manifests in your behaviors, like that is the problem. So that daily conversation with self, like, where are you? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing right now? Right. Like I was sharing with you before we got onto the podcast. Like, listen, I'm tired today. And right about now, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Uh-huh.
And Chanel had a conversation with herself before she got onto this podcast. And
Yes.
that conversation is, Chanel, when this podcast is over, we're going to snatch this scarf off your
Yes.
head and
Yes.
we're going to get in
Yes.
the bed because we tired. Yes, we could be doing paperwork. Yes, we could be bookkeeping. Yes, we could be. There's so many other things. Yes, we could be conference. Like there's so many
Uh-huh.
other things I could be
Right.
doing. But we tired, and
Right. That's
because
right.
Chanel, we are tired. Chanel, we gonna snatch this off our head and we getting in the bed.
Yes. We
Like
gonna rest.
self
Yes.
care.
Yes.
Self-care. So
Absolutely.
I love that idea of self-care being a conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
When was the first time that you realized, I need to start having this daily conversation with myself? And what was like a turning point for you?
Yeah. So I think a turning point for me, really, if I'm honest, was during the pandemic, because I found myself in a very isolated and, just difficult space. And I was still working. I was still able to show up. And it was crazy because I was just getting my practice off the ground. And then the pandemic came and it forced me from my physical location to being virtual. And all of a sudden, my caseload went up crazy. And so I'm trying to meet all the needs of all of these new clients that I have. And it got to be where I was only really able to be fully present when I was working with my clients. But outside of my sessions, I was completely just checked out of myself. And so, that for me was a wake up call, because I recognized that I wasn't taking good care of myself during that time. I was showing up for everyone else that I needed to. And checking in with myself in terms of am I still able to do my job? But as far as how am I taking care of Aliya, that definitely wasn't what it needed to be. And it really impacted the quality of my life. So that for me was a huge turning point and a wake up call.
Yeah. And I can imagine that took a great level of self-awareness.
Yeah.
A great level of self-awareness, because even to recognize it, there comes a point where it's just like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not showing up like I know I should.
Right.
Or like I know that I could show up.
That's right.
And when you recognize, I remember one point feeling like, man, I'm dragging every single day. Dragging. And it's like, why am I dragging?
That's right.
It's not normal.
It's
right?
I don't remember it being this hard.
Exactly. Girl, I'm like, I am dragging. I remember at one point, and I'm gonna tell on myself. And so, if any of my clients happen to be listening to this, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the other client. But I remember that there were days where I would have clients, and I'd be dragging myself out of bed.
Yeah.
And I'd muster up just enough strength to get through that session. I was so tired. I was so depleted. I would try and give the best that I could. Even in something as simple as recognizing, okay, something had to change. I would just throw my hair back in a ponytail. I have bags under my eyes, and it's how I'm showing up to sessions. And it's just it's like, no, ma'am. It's like, no, ma'am. Get it together. But I was in a place of burnout.
Yeah, exactly.
And it took a moment to recognize, to be self-aware and say, Chanel, you're not okay. Right. And because you're not okay, what are you going to do differently? And what that led me to do is to do some things health-wise when it comes to self-care, right? Because we talk about self-care, we talk about the relaxation, we talk about the overwhelm. But for me, what it really was, I was dealing with some health stuff. My body wasn't processing iron.
Same.
Iron, my body would not saturate iron. Wow. So I had no energy. So my doctor's like, goodness. Of course you couldn't get out the bed. You ain't He was like, I'm surprised you was able to drive and walk into this office.
No.
Right? Just like things like that. And so even, when you talk about that daily check-in with yourself, sometimes y'all, it's not an emotional thing. Sometimes it is a physical thing.
That's absolutely
and you need to be able to tune in. But when you don't know when you don't I have to know how my body operates. I have to, when I finally started to recognize my body, and it was like, something is wrong, something shifted. So I was able to advocate with to the doctors in a different way. No, you're not going to just, because they like, no, and no disrespect to no doctors, but everything is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, well, you need to lose weight, you overweight.
Oh
Like,
yeah, they love that. Have you considered your weight?
yeah, I'm like, okay, yes, I know I'm overweight.
Oh
I
my
need to lose
goodness.
weight, right? I'm
Right.
not trying to gloss over that fact,
Right.
but
Right.
something shifted in Chanel. And
Yeah.
because I'm aware and I know me, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? I was
Yeah.
able to advocate at that level. So I think, that is so good. What
Yeah.
did it take for you? What did it take, or what was the moment? Like, I don't even know if it's a moment of courage, a moment of, I'm over this, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
But what did it take for you to decide, okay, I need to do something different?
That's a very good question. So when you were talking about your provider, it made me think, shout out to providers because for me, it was also a provider. I was seeing a therapist at
Mm-hmm.
that time. She was a really good therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she said to me, Aliya, you were so mean to yourself. You're so mean to yourself. And I
Ooh.
was like, and then she's like, who are you outside of this wounded healer sort of identity that you've taken on? And I was like, blown, like my mind was blown, right? Like I'm like, I can't even conceptualize what that even means, right? And she said the last thing that she said to me was, Aliya, you are thriving in your work as a clinician because it gives you an opportunity to escape yourself. You don't have to look at yourself when you're focused on helping other people.
First of all,
Oh,
who's you talking to?
oh
Okay.
my God.
First of
Oh,
all, don't talk to me like that.
like you ain't had to drag me like that. Like, oh my God. So that for me was like when I realized, oh man, it just became so clear for me when she pointed those things out. It seemed like that was all I could think about was in those moments. I was catching myself in the moment after that. So it's like, Aliya, this is you being mean to yourself.
Yeah.
Aliya, this is you not,
Ooh.
taking care of yourself. This is you trying to escape yourself. And so it forced me to stay in a position of self-awareness that
Mm,
provoked change. At that point, something had to change because now I can't keep hiding. Like now
mm.
I've been exposed.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
First of all,
Yeah.
shout out to the therapists who work with
Yes.
other therapists.
Yes.
We love
Right.
y'all.
Right.
We love
Because
y'all, especially the ones who don't care that I'm a therapist.
right. This special.
Shout out.
Because I would hate to have to work with myself. I would hate to have me as a client.
Maybe I say all the time, because listen, I've been with my therapist for 4 years, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
letting her let me go. Now
Right.
it's
Right.
funny because as therapists, you're not supposed to hold on to clients
Right.
forever. And I
Exactly.
told her, listen, I'm an exception to the rule. Like, even if we once a month,
Right.
you are a part of my long-term self-care plan.
Yes.
So get
Yes.
over it.
Yes.
Like, get over it.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate it because she makes me see me even in being a therapist.
Yeah.
And when I'm in session with her, I can completely take that hat off,
Yep.
and I can just be Chanel. Like, it's so important, man,
Yeah, it
to be
is.
able to see yourself, especially like you say, as a healer.
Yeah.
As a healer, you have to be able to see yourself, because she's right. We can take on this identity of, I'm just going to help people. I'm just going to help people. I'm just
Yeah.
going to help people.
That's my
And it's a
purpose.
good
Gotta
thing.
help. Gotta
It's a
heal.
great
Gotta
thing.
help.
You know what I'm saying? And we get to see transformation in people, and it's a great thing that makes you feel good. But then you get stuck in this pattern. But are you living the life?
Right. That's right. I
Do
was
you
telling.
take the same advice,
Mhm.
quote unquote, that you give your clients?
Do I take the same advice that I give my clients? I try to. I don't always. And when I don't, I pride myself on being a really transparent therapist, in that I really like to help sort of challenge the feeling of being isolated in their experiences. So I do a lot of work to normalize things. I also pull a lot from just systemic stuff and things that are out in the world that are impacting, to help people not, feel as though they are the problem so much all the time, right? And so in doing that, I hold myself to that same standard. And so if there is something that I'm working on, I'll say I'm working on that too. I'm working on it myself, and I know it's hard, but maybe let's explore some ways that you can, approach this, whatever it is that you're approaching. But sometimes it's hard to take. Sometimes I will absolutely be aware that I need to take my own advice and be still dodging that a little bit. So I do
Listen.
still struggle.
Okay. I'll be having a notepad because I do a lot of sessions virtually. So I'll be like, I'll say something out my mouth and I'll be like, hold up, let me write that down real quick. Let me review that. Because listen, I be healing myself by talking to some of these clients. I'm like, oh, that's my answer.
Me too. Yes.
That's my answer. Like sometimes I'll be dropping bombs and I'll be getting so hyped. Yeah. And my clients think I'm getting hyped for them. And it's like, no, I'm hyped for me because
I love that.
I can't believe I just said that because listen, I've been looking for that answer. Like, so it's interesting being on this side of it. Yeah. And then when people look at you, and somebody just said this to me today, like, you're the therapist. I don't need to say this to you. First of all, help me.
Right.
Okay. First of all, I don't care what you check on me. Help me. See if I'm okay.
Right.
Therapist or not.
Yes.
Check on me.
Absolutely.
Do not assume because because listen, I'm a therapist, and not to toot my own horn, I'm a pretty good therapist. I am pretty good at what I do. But that doesn't mean I know how to apply all the things to my life, which is why I've submitted myself to therapy. So I can make sure that I'm staying in that seat of learning and growing and checking myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna lie. It's taken me a while to become fully transparent with my therapist. And so what I love about the process is, as a therapist, is also teaching me what my clients feel on the other side of the table.
Absolutely.
I learned some things because I find myself certain times like holding stuff back from my therapist. And I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't want her to judge me. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, all right, let me just bear it all out, and I know that she's a safe place for me. And so I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The idea of having a constant conversation with yourself and looking at yourself and being able to be self-aware and catch the signs. This is good stuff. So we've been on here for 20 minutes.
Have we already?
Time is running.
I'm sorry.
No,
but we therapists can talk, so that's what
I told you already that I was excited that I get to talk to another therapist who get it. So good stuff. So let's go there now.
Yes.
Tell us the name of your chapter and give us some nugget. Now don't give it all away because they got to buy the book in order to get it. But tell us the name of your chapter and then talk to us a little bit about it.
Sure. So the name of my chapter is Healing and Self-Discovery Through Movement. And essentially, I am talking about my experience coming back from the trauma that I've experienced, especially, I've mentioned my sexual trauma in there, physical abuse and everything. I've come from, pretty rough beginnings. And so I don't stay there too much though, right? Like I identify that that's something that I've had to work through, but I wanted to keep the chapter focused on my experience and how I developed or how I sort of progressed through the journey of my own self-discovery and healing. And so I talk about how I had to, revisit and reconnect or really reestablish a relationship with my physical body. We talk about checking in with ourselves, but I was really checked out from my body for a very long time, especially pursuing becoming a therapist. I'm like, okay, I got to focus on school. I got to focus on my clients. I got to focus on, so for a long time, I didn't have to have a relationship with my body. And I started to explore dance first as a means of weight loss because I was on a weight loss journey. But then it grew to become something so much more. And, at the time I was also reading The Body Keeps Score. So I was learning about how trauma sits in the body and how people were having emotional experiences in yoga and things like that. So I said, there's really something here. And so my chapter talks about my experience of self-discovery and just learning to be selfish through means of movement, dance and movement, and just not being afraid to reestablish a relationship with my body that for a very long time didn't feel safe because of the experiences that I've had. So that's what my chapter's about.
Oh, so deep.
Yeah.
Reestablished a relationship with your body.
Yeah.
I want that to sit out there for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff.
There's so many people who need a new relationship with your body.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when we think about that, it seems like, you know, I walk around with my body every day.
Yeah.
But do you feel your body?
Right.
Do you appreciate your body? Do you honor your temple? You know,
Mm-hmm.
our bodies are temples. The Bible tells us that our bodies are temples of the Holy
Right.
Spirit. And do you honor your temple? Do you
Right.
eat appropriately? Do
Right.
you exercise like our bodies are meant for movement. Like
Yeah.
that's why you have a body, to move
Right. That's
and to
right.
navigate the world. And
That's right.
so many of us neglect our temple, so we can't move and navigate the world in a way
Mm-hmm.
that we need to. You talk about your journey. For you, it was sexual assault and
Mm-hmm.
having to deal with that, right? That
Yes.
caused this disconnection. But I want
Absolutely.
to submit to people, there's so many reasons. There
Mm-hmm.
could be injuries,
That's right.
there could be diseases, it can be
Mm-hmm.
chronic health conditions, it could be weight.
Yeah.
People who have weight issues disconnect from their bodies and don't honor their temples. So there's many different reasons
Yeah.
on why we would need to reestablish our relationship with our bodies. And what
Absolutely.
Aliya is telling you, and she's navigating you through in the chapter, is the
Mm-hmm.
importance of doing so
Yeah.
and how to do so.
Yes.
What led you to dance as a
Mm-hmm.
way of doing that?
So I have always wanted to dance, always wanted to be a dancer. I was obsessed with Alvin Ailey as a kid. I watched ballroom dance competitions. I just
Mm-hmm.
knew that I was going to be a dancer, but my mom had fallen in love and married a soldier. And so my dance classes had to stop and we had to travel to many different places, one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest ones being Germany. And so a lot of those creative aspirations that I had to come to a halt. And then after that, it was like, okay, can't study it in school because, it was discouraged in my family. So, I have to do something else. Okay. I like the idea of healing people and learning therapy. So I went after that. And I had experienced, my best friend passed away right
Mm-hmm.
before I started graduate school. So like, instead of going to my first day of class, I went to her funeral. So I was actively mourning through graduate school. And I think that I realized that my weight had gotten really high. And so I said, okay, I need to go on a fitness journey. And one day I was taking Zumba and I overheard
Mm-hmm.
women talking about a Latin dance class that they had taken that was local. And I don't know, it just was like, oh, let me check it out. And I went one day and I never left. It
Wow.
felt like I was giving myself permission to be that person that I always wanted to be.
Yeah.
It was a very emotional thing for me. It still is, because it's all I've ever wanted. And I felt like it was never something I was allowed to have. And so I found a way to give myself permission to do it. And that's what it was for me.
I literally have chills because I think it's so powerful. One of the things that's missing for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, me and my husband always talk about, like, we need a thing as a couple. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we like, is it gonna be karate? Is it gonna be dance? Like, we've
Mm-hmm.
we've we've talked about it. And what I found, especially with working with clients, is like a lot of us don't have hobbies. A lot of us don't have
Right.
things that we
Right.
just gravitate towards, that we just enjoy doing. And what I find is that oftentimes those things that we gravitate towards are very much healing for us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's
Absolutely.
gardening. I don't care if it's music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's healing to your body, it's healing to your mind, it's healing to your soul, and
Yeah.
something that you can just pour yourself into. And for
Yeah.
a lot of people, work becomes their thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they give all their time for work. And listen, I love being a therapist. I love the
Yeah.
work that I do,
Yeah.
but I want to have fun. I want to,
Right.
like, I want to make sure that I'm connecting with me in relation to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I hear what you're saying is dance allowed you to connect with you.
Absolutely. It
It
was
was
like
the
a love
pursuit of
letter.
a dream.
Yes. It
It
was like, oh,
was,
here
you
you
said,
go.
I gave myself permission,
Yes.
and it was healing to your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
So
was like
now
the
you take
best
that
gift.
and now
Yeah.
you're passing that on to other people.
Absolutely. Because I couldn't deny how much it was allowing me to heal, and how really what it was is that I've always kind of felt like it wasn't safe to be in my body because of the experiences that I've had. And dance gave me an opportunity to do something different with my body and to reclaim my
Mm-hmm.
body in a way that was just very special and unique to that experience that I had. And
Mm-hmm.
it just empowered me in so many ways. And so I couldn't deny that it had done so much for me. And so as a therapist, I'm like, wow, this is good stuff. And
Powerful.
this is huge. And especially for, we think about clients who have experienced trauma and aren't able to even find the words to identify what they've experienced. So it gives an opportunity to heal without even having to speak the words for those who
Come
aren't able to
on.
say it out loud. And so I just recognized how powerful it was. And there was no way I couldn't use it as a vehicle of healing for other people. So I had to do it. I had to do that work.
That's so good, man.
Yeah.
That's so good. And again, kudos to you for
Thank you.
not being afraid to take a path least traveled.
Thank you.
And to manifest that. I listen, I love it. What would you say, like, if somebody was to come for you for like dance therapy or movement
Hmm.
therapy, what would they
Hmm.
get out of a session?
Sure. So really what they would get out of a session at first would be, just I would really try to create an environment where they felt safe. I know a lot of therapists don't like to use that anymore, safe space. They say
Mm-hmm.
brave space,
Mm-hmm.
whichever it needs to be. But I really am big on just creating a space where someone feels safe enough to reconnect should they want to. And so
Mm-hmm.
I like to sort of approach it as a suggestion. Let's
Mm-hmm.
get curious. Let's do a little bit of exploration. What would that feel like if we just sit here and we feel our bodies, we feel our feet on the floor. So really just kind of inviting a mindfulness activity to it.
Mm-hmm.
um, and talking about what they feel. So I also, as a trauma therapist, I do a lot of EMDR. I'm trained in EMDR,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so I find that a lot of that sort of shows up as well. Where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you noticing in your body in this moment? Let's talk about it, and only go as far as you feel comfortable, and allow it to be something progressive if they're able to,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, just allow it to be whatever they need it to be. I
Mm-hmm.
really like to follow the lead of my client because I don't want to push them through anything that is, that's too much for them too soon.
Yeah.
And so really it's just me sort of walking alongside them and supporting them as they explore, their
Yeah.
bodies and reconnect in that way. It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
To see. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then for like couples, like it's an opportunity to get quiet and just connect and
Mm-hmm.
really like connect with one another. with
Mm-hmm.
with social dancing, you have to have a follow and a lead, and there needs to be trust. So I like to do a lot of trust work with my couples with that kind of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these are just two other things. There's so many different ways.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, I'm about to come in for a session. Let me get my
You
dance on. Let
should
me
come.
see. Like
Yes,
we gonna have
come,
to set that
come.
up. I love stuff like I love stuff like this. And I know
Yeah,
it's the therapist in me, but I love stuff like this.
yeah.
I just think that is so awesome, and I think it's so needed, right?
Mhm.
Because I've accepted a long time ago as a therapist that everybody different needs different modes of healing.
Absolutely.
Which is why I started that creative arts group, because there's some
Mhm.
people who I know would have never done traditional talk therapy,
Right,
but if I bring a box into the room, you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like
Now it's about
it's
that box.
listen, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And
yeah.
so I love it, and I think it's so powerful. And what I love about this is that it's things that you can do on your own too, ways
Absolutely.
that you can reconnect with your body on your own too, and so wow, wow, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stop right there because I need the people to go get the book,
Yes, go get
so
the
that they
book.
can read the things. But listen, y'all, if y'all are listening, I do want you to understand that there are different modes of healing. And
Mhm,
for people who may say that traditional talk therapy is not for me, try
mhm.
something different. Try some art
Yes.
therapy. Like,
Yeah.
you would be surprised what may open you up. What I love, I think it's great for adults,
Mhm.
because I heard somebody say once, adults are nothing but children that grew up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like adults are nothing but children that grew up,
Yeah.
and so I think it's great to tap into that inner child, to have
Mm.
fun, because adults, like, you start paying bills and then you just stop
Yeah.
having fun. And it's
Yeah.
just like, no, open up. That baby girl is still there. She still want to have
Yes.
fun. Take care of
Yes.
her and have some
Yes.
fun and enjoy life, you know. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So
Thank you.
Aaliyah, tell the people if they want to get in touch with you and if they want to get the book, how can
Yes.
they get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me through my website. And so it is theepiphanyroom.com. So should I spell it out? You think I should spell it
Yeah,
out?
go ahead, spell it out. Because
W.
everybody don't know how to spell
I
epiphany. So
know, I know that long name.
I
So
know.
it's www.theepiphanyroom.com. That's the
Mhm.
epiphanyroom.com. If you are interested in learning more about what I do specifically in my private practice, so you're seeking counseling, then that's where you would go. If you are interested in my dance wellness business, then you would go to Adenuga Dance. And I know I got to spell that because
You
my
gotta
last
spell
name.
that. You might have to spell that one.
So that one is www.aden, like Nancy, UGA, dance, DANCE, .com. So AdenugaDance.com is the dance business website. And then also I am on Instagram. So same name, Adenuga Dance on Instagram or the Epiphany Room on Instagram.
Mhm.
And so that is how you can reach me. I haven't yet, but the books, if you're interested in the books will be available on both of those websites.
Mhm.
That's the plan. So if you are interested in getting the book through me, that's the platform that I would be offering them on. So.
Awesome. And we will make sure that all of Aliya's information is in the show notes so you guys will be able to click the links and, you know, go back to her. Make sure you hit her up to get the I'm
Yes.
telling y'all, it's
Yes.
all good. Like the nuggets in it is all good. It's different. It's listen, and we got so much more coming. Listen, we still working
Yes.
on this book tour because I'm not playing about that. Like this is a movement. Girl Be Selfish is a movement. So make
Yes.
sure that you are
Yes.
on the ground floor of the greatness and you can
Mhm.
start by getting that book. And so,
That's
Aliya,
right.
thank you so much
Of course.
for
Thank
being
you.
my guest today. This was a great conversation.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
always amazing to talk with another fellow therapist. Always,
Yes.
always amazing. Thank you for being a part of the movement.
Of
Thank you
course. Of course.
for telling your story. Thank you
Thank
for telling
you.
your story. And thank you for being assistant in the work. Okay, because we know
Yes.
it's not easy work, and you got to
No,
be called to the work, but it's so
that's
rewarding
right.
and so
That's right.
fulfilling. So
That's right.
big ups to all the therapists out there.
Yes,
Thank
we out
you
here.
for doing the work in
Yes.
order to help to bring healing to the world. So I hope that you got something out of today's podcast. I hope that you were able to pick up some nuggets and understand that there is more than one way. There are different paths to healing.
That's
Maybe
right.
traditional talk therapy is not your thing. Maybe you tried it, or maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and here's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like dance therapy could be a complement to traditional talk
That's
therapy,
right.
right?
That's right.
Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. Sometimes it can just be both, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so find what works for you, but no matter what, just go after your healing, child.
That's
Go
right.
after
That's right.
your healing.
And do it selfishly.
And do it selfishly. Listen, and that's it. And so if I had a mic, I would drop wait,
Right,
here's my
like
mic.
Trump.
That's the mic. Listen, we going to end right there. I hope that you guys have an amazing day. I'm super excited. Make sure you stay tuned. Next week we'll be back with another episode of the Girl Be Selfish podcast. And as I always say, and as Aliya said, stay selfish. Love
Yes.
y'all.
Bye,
Bye, family.
guys.